The Last Order by Kwame Mbalia, the new young adult Star Wars book about Finn and Janna, comes out today. I got to read it a little early, so here is my review of the book. I usually do these to be spoiler-free, and I still won't talk about plot details in this video, but I feel like I have to at least talk about the book's structure, which some people might consider to be spoilery, so I guess be slightly warned here. The short version of this review is that I was unfortunately disappointed, and I feel like a huge part of that is because of the expectations that were set up by the marketing of this book. The synopsis that was released says, following the end of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, the Resistance rescues a ship full of young passengers who had been kidnapped by the First Order. As Finn and Janna set out to find the First Order officer responsible before he can endanger any more children, the two former stormtroopers must wrestle with their own complicated pasts as soldiers of the oppressive regime. Take a deep dive into the pasts of popular characters Finn and Janna in this richly drawn, action-packed story that fans have been asking for. At least for me, I read that and was expecting the bulk of the story to take place after the Rise of Skywalker. The setup sounds pretty great. Our two main former Stormtrooper characters have to save a bunch of kids that were in their exact situation, kidnapped and forced to be soldiers. This was a chance to see at least a taste of what the galaxy is like after the Battle of Exegol. We could touch on Finn's force sensitivity. We could deal with First Order remnants. Sure, the synopsis mentions a deep dive into their past, but I wasn't expecting nearly the entire book to be flashbacks. But it is. About 85% of the story all takes place in the past. I'm totally guessing, but I get the sense there were some major limitations put on Mbalia. Like, maybe he was told to write a story that includes some post-Episode 9 elements, but not to give too much away. We open up on Agen Kloss, so not enough time has passed for the galaxy to go through any big changes. There aren't any scenes or even mentions of Rey, or any major updates on Finn learning he can feel the Force. To me, it seems like the few chapters we got after Exegol weren't allowed to touch on anything I actually wanted to know, because we've got two movies on the horizon, so Lucasfilm probably wants to save even small reveals for the big screen, and whenever publishing gets restricted in that way, I find it to be frustrating. And I know I'm harping on expectations a lot here, but I don't feel like I was being unrealistic based on the synopsis. I think I do a pretty good job at keeping my expectations in check, so if I'm feeling this way, I bet other fans will also be surprised, so I'm hoping I can help people better know what to expect. So, The Last Order is far more about Finn and Janna and their time as stormtroopers. Getting past my expectations, the book does some stuff I like. I think Mbalia writes Janna and especially Finn very well. I think Finn is a funny but earnest character in The Force Awakens, and that absolutely comes through here. The Last Order also does a good job aligning itself with other publishing stories. Phasma and Cardinal and some other familiar faces show up and are used appropriately. There's some decent work done to align the end of the book with Finn's story in Before the Awakening, which came out about a decade ago. I do think learning more and more about his past takes some mental adjusting every time, but it still works. Nothing that happens in The Last Order contradicts what we see in The Force Awakens. Knowing that he will eventually defect can make his chapters a little frustrating, because I just want him to go ahead and wake up instead of swallow all the First Order brainwashing hook, line, and sinker, but I think the book goes to great lengths to make sure what he experiences is a step on his realization of what the First Order truly stands for. Janna's sections of flashback didn't have that problem at all. Her part of the story was my favorite of the book. She seems like she is constantly looking for, not necessarily a way out of the First Order, but at least a way to diminish her squad's involvement. Of course, that's impossible, and we know things are building to the Battle of Ansett Island, and rewatching her scene in The Rise of Skywalker, where she tells Finn how her company threw down their weapons, gave me chills. We just know less about that character, and hearing more about her past was more exciting to me. In fact, I think I would have liked The Last Order more if it had specifically been a Janna story. Maybe the book was trying to do too much. We've got two flashback stories and a handful of post-Exegol chapters. There are several villains, meaning they pull focus from the most interesting one, a lieutenant named Shroud. Janna and her squad investigate a mystery I found difficult to follow while bouncing around between characters. I think more focus on fewer elements would have helped. Maybe we could have dropped Finn's flashbacks, and then Janna's past could have more fully informed the post-Exegol storyline where she and Finn are attempting to save more kidnapped kids, and have a better balance between flashbacks and present day. I think that would have worked way better for me. But yeah, in the end, The Last Order left me wanting a lot more. It didn't make me feel like I learned anything about the galaxy or the characters after the Rise of Skywalker. I enjoyed how Mbalia wrote Finn and Janna. The story just didn't touch on anything I was hoping to read about. All that said, the apparent reluctance to dive too deep into Finn's future in this book makes me hopeful that there might be plans to see him again on the big screen. So that brings us to the end of this review. I'm really interested to hear more people's thoughts as they read the book, so please let me know in the comments, especially if you see a different perspective. But for now, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on our socials, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.